Hi there. I just wanted to give a few more brief comments on the discussion between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson and Bret Weinstein in Vancouver. If you go back to the beginning of the second portion, where they're about to do a recap of the prior evening, so when Bret Weinstein's giving his introduction to the second portion and laying out the framework or the groundwork for the coming discussion, it's very interesting. And now going back, I'm kind of hearing things all with fresher ears, so to speak. And Bret initially makes sense to me when he speaks of that we're all living in a time where things aren't making sense. We're hearing people talk about this and that, and things are starting to feel a little bit strange. There's a lot of disconnect with people in general, in many circles and in many forms and fashions in life, and it is a concern. And then he basically does a recap of the prior evening, of that discussion, so that the people that are there for the second evening and any of us that might be listening in can be brought up to speed. And I just wanted to say that I related with what Bret said at first. Taking some different notes, jotting things down as we go along. It could be that I just need some more time to process all of this. And I did see some comments online on the videos as well. But in essence, Sam keeps going back to the fact that he's basically wanting to talk about religion and how bad it is and how much it does not serve anybody, and that even when he is encouraged to consider the worst forms of it, or the bad forms of it, because when I say the worst, see, we're in an interesting discussion really ultimately about religions. And I just want to say, everybody, encourage everyone to tap the brakes a bit, to really, as the one said the other night, pull the brakes a bit. And not on what they're saying, though. I think even Jordan agreed, and it surprised Sam at the end of the one video on something he said. But basically, I just wanted to say, I don't think it's okay to talk so derisively, even though it's seeming to come across so respectfully, about religion and the people who hold the views, without being more specific. I think that we need to talk in terms of what's helpful, what's not helpful. When Bret ends the second video asking Sam that isn't there any value at all in at least talking about an eternity or a paradise or a hope one day that might cause people to act in a way that is better, isn't that helpful at all? Acting like it's just mythological stories that might be causing them to act better. Trying, and like, if that's the form of defense we're putting up to Sam to try to, to respond to or not, I think we're kind of at a dangerous place. This discussion is a concern to me, is what I'm trying to say. Because Sam, in essence, is saying, no, it's all kind of bad. It causes us to act worse. On a later discussion, I'm going to talk on that more too, on how I don't even think that makes sense. That the good that could come from religion, Sam is seeming to try to kind of quash all of that, to not only disregard, but basically call it all bad. And this kind of format, this kind of discussion allows almost for a free form of just dumping on all religion, but dressing up all religion and faith-based types of things as the worst that comes from some religions that are genuinely harmful to societies that we see. I just want to really caution, as a person who cares, that we not do that. I don't think it's the most moral way we can be. I do not think this is the best kind of thinking that we can offer up to humanity to make this world a better place, to demonize, in essence, no matter how nicely it's said, no matter how calmly it's said, no matter how supposedly rational it is being said, I totally disagree with a lot of the tone that has come across in these debates. And it really concerns me because I think all three of these guys, even though they might want to be talking as if they're standing up to Sam, they're not really standing up to these poorer ideas that do not withstand the moral test, I don't think. Talk about giving a free pass. It ended basically with saying that we need to keep talking about letting us all be allowed to talk about how bad religion is. That is such a simplistic thought, really, but it's in this guise of talking very deeply about the hugest things of life. It's supposedly being some authoritative delivery here, some authoritative, some grand way of speaking of these things, which I really think, bottom line, is dangerous. Because I think that where people could run with it, I don't think that what was ended up being talked about and defended and spoken of actually lends toward a better way between people. I actually think it lends toward more division, more painful, problematic issues. It's kind of just a true problem to me. So I didn't want to get too long in this video, and I think I'm starting to get there. So I'm going to keep on talking about this stuff. I was invited as a listener to weigh in as well on these topics, and I do plan on it. I encourage everybody to not jump on a bandwagon that is kind of almost being laid out as okay to do. So I may rethink this. I may have some different thoughts later. I just wanted to take a stand against some of the tone that, if I can put it like this, is in the undercurrent of this discussion. The undercurrent and overall feel, as just from one human to another, those guys are all three great guys that care about deeply about what matters and how we think about things. I think that we need to hold to the fire the feet of basically Sam in this case, just how dangerous. If he's concerned about dangerous things, I think certain discussions like these can be unhelpful in terms of swaying people's minds against particular groups in a way that is not helpful, because I don't see genuine harm coming from, I don't see any harm in letting people live and think and speak. Speaking of free speech here, let people be. Let people think how they want and conclude. This is not all about brainwashing. It's kind of like we're past some point of being allowed to discuss and debate the particulars that would make any of Sam's points even plausible. So I appreciate the absolute laying out of Sam's views, which I don't think I quite realized were so deeply entrenched a whole group of humans to the degree that it actually is seeming to be. And the way that people are kind of tiptoeing and walking on eggshells, and he's kind of lamenting not being allowed to talk about in the way that he wants. I mean, I hope I'm kind of conveying my concern here. It's really alarming, as if this isn't what he wants to say and think and feel. If he feels like there's any pushback, there's a reason for that. That's what I'm trying to say. If he feels like there's a problem in him feeling tortured and speaking these truths, I think that's a good thing, because it's not okay to speak of people of religion this way unless they're doing atrocities. We saw some major atrocities this week. This is December 26, 2018 right now. I heard in the news yesterday about a young lady that was killed. I won't go into all of that. And it was connected to religion and ideologies and political issues in the world. I won't go into all of that, but how come we can't just talk about real problems, real issues? And if, and I've got to say this, a big if that's all Sam means, it would be more moral and good and better, speaking of good things for all of us, to focus on that and not blame the whole, because that is not fair. I would request more fairness in this discussion, and when we sense and feel the disconnect, to not be quick to jump on a bandwagon of demonizing things, which I, for one at least, do not think fits the bill, for the reason to explain what Bret described at the very beginning of the recap, at the very beginning of the video 2, of portion 2, night 2. I do not think that Sam's overall comments and views address the problem that Bret describes at the beginning of video 2. Go back and watch it. You'll see what I mean. I, for one, I'm just one person, but I think it's incredibly wrong to give such derision to a whole group of people, in essence. And yes, a lot more was being said, but it's kind of like, we want to address this problem carefully and all these things. And I'm thinking, do you hear yourselves? Do you guys hear what you're saying? I appreciate the discussion again, and thank you for listening. Bye.